All right, welcome back, everybody. Anybody that's new here, thanks for joining me today. Today's going to be a really simple one. We're going to do the top 5 fall fishing lures, and it's basically based around my recent trip. If you haven't seen last Sunday's video, I will have it linked at the end of this one. I also have another one coming up after this. I just wanted to split them up because I wanted to give you everybody a chance to check out these very awesome videos. I was out on a very large body of water, well, gigantic river, we'll put it that way. So go check out the last video. Like I said, I'll link it at the very end of this one. But I wanted to kind of give people pointers on how we were able to go out there and pick it apart. The guy I was fishing with, he fishes out there all the time, but I grew up being a river rat. I grew up pretty much anywhere there was water, but rivers were my home. It was easier to get to, didn't have a lot of money to get out, so a lot of shore fishing spots. But I want to go over the top 5 lures I use, and basically it's kind of what I went over when I was in this last video, as you guys will see if you watch it after this. I kind of went through this list until I started picking up fish. I ended up copying one of the ways the guy I was fishing with was fishing, and I do that all the time by myself, usually in the fall. But the big thing here is that was the one that worked. But out of these 5, if you're fishing rivers in the fall, you're gonna catch fish. You're looking for walleyes, perch, smallmouth, northern pike, largemouth bass, white bass. These lures will all work for those fish. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, those of you guys that aren't new here, if you were here last winter, obviously you guys know I fish all the time in the wintertime. I'm an ice fishing junkie. This is what I do. I like the cold weather more than the hot weather. Me and hot weather don't get along. But ice fishing merch. Make sure if you want to get ice fishing merch this year, you guys try to order it before December. If you're seeing this in December, go ahead and order it. I just can't guarantee that you'll get it by like the end of December type thing. It gets crazy around mid-November. So whenever you're seeing this, if you guys want to pick up merch to help support the channel this winter, do it as soon as possible. The help will be greatly appreciated. Plus, it basically pays you guys back because that's how I get out going and fishing all winter long. It'll allow me to get on some of the first ice in the Midwest. If I get enough money, I might just travel to get on some first ice. Apparently, there's already ice in Alaska. So, yeah. You guys pick up the merch. It's linked in the description, always. So if you guys see it. And then anything else linked in the description helps out the channel too. So I'll have all the lures I talk about today listed in the description. Obviously, like I was saying, they work. If you watch the last video, you'll see they work. If you watch the next video, you'll see they work. And any of my other fall fishing videos, I have a whole playlist for fall stuff. So if you guys are trying to learn more about the fall, I have a whole playlist on that. But yeah, if you pick up anything from the links in the description below, that helps out the channel. Just a little bit, but it helps. And then share and like these videos. But I think the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the most simple thing every person should have. So I have one sitting over here. This is a jig. I know, if you fish all the time, you're going to be like, yeah, everybody should know what a jig is. But some people don't. Some people don't know the versatility of this thing. Some people think you put a night crawler on here and that's it. Obviously, you can fish it with a night crawler. You can fish it with a minnow on there or leeches and stuff like that. You can fish it by itself. You can fish it under slip bobbers, all that stuff. But mainly in the fall time, I will be casting a jig. So this is one of my bigger ones. But as you guys can see, this box here is nothing but jigs. So that is a number one thing I think, without a doubt, no matter how much money you have, if you don't have a lot of money, pick yourself up some jigs, some 6 to 10 pound test line, and get used to feeling how to fish a jig. If you guys want me to do like a jig fishing video, because I just thought about that. I don't think I've ever really done just how to fish a jig properly. A lot of people just kind of do it. I do the same thing. I just instinctively fish it a certain way. There's a million ways to do it. If you guys want to see that video, comment below. Make sure you comment that you want to see a jig fishing video specifically, so that I know you guys aren't just talking about jigs or whatever. But that's number one. I think everyone should have a box. So this box, I mean, realistically, none of these are really expensive jigs, except maybe my blade jigs. And so the whole box if you bought it all at once, might be like 50 bucks or something like that. Which I know, trust me, I don't have a lot of money, which that could be a lot of money to some people. But the thing is for 50 bucks, you have enough jigs to fish for like 12, 15 years, unless you fish in a really snaggy area. But the next thing we're going to go into is my number 2 next to a jig in the fall. Most of the year is actually my number 1, but I think in the fall, the jig would be the best one to start with to try to find fish, unless you're looking for active fish right away. So let's get into number 2. Okay, so number 2, I'm going to kind of go through these quick. Like I said, this isn't a how-to video. This is just basically telling you guys, hey, if you get these 5 lures, you're going to catch fish. I promise you. Like, I can actually make a promise. Come back if you fish with all of these lures and you don't catch anything. Problem is, if you put a half a night crawler on here and toss it in some rapids below a dam, you're gonna catch fish. So, don't lie to me. Second lure here, which happens to be has a number 2 on it. This just happens to be the size I like to throw. Number 2, number 1s. I will throw up to number 5s, but those are usually for northern pike. This is just a Mepps spinner. So, and this is the color pattern I really like. This red and white with I think that's copper or gold spoon. With a white tail. It just works in dirty water. And it's a really simple one because with this, you can fish it kind of slow. And in the fall, some fish slow down, some fish speed up. Some fish really turn on the feed bag, and this will get hammered by a lot of different fish. I've noticed smallmouth and walleye tend to like this one. So number 2 is a number 2 Mepps spinner. Should be pretty easy. Like I said, I'll link everything in order down below, so you guys, if you want to pick them up, it's real simple. Go down there, order them, get all 5 of them if you can right away, and you're set for the fall. Now, mind you, all of these lures work literally all the way till there's ice, and then some of these lures actually work after there's ice. So like if you're fishing rivers and there's lakes that are frozen, these will still work in the rivers. Okay, so number 3, you're going to see a pattern here. I tend to fish bait fish patterns most of the fall, but it just depends on depth, action of lure, and kind of like how the fish are feeding. So you have to kind of gauge this based on fish activity makes a difference. But the number 3 one, I'm going to go with flicker shad. Some people will go with different lures for their number 3 or whatever go to, but like seriously, spinners and flicker shads are pretty similar, real close. But the thing is this one will dive. So the nice thing about flicker shads is this nice long bill. See if I can get a focus on that. So with these, you can run these right across rocks. So they'll bounce right off of rocks. It's got a rattle in it. They vibrate like crazy. So no matter how slow you're reeling them in, they'll actually put off a ton of call, basically, is what I like to say. So like the fish can feel it in their lateral lines, and you know, makes the sound of it bouncing off of everything. So it brings in fish that are active. So this and the spinner will get you your active fish. If you're looking in the description below, if there's more than one listed, this is the 5M BSV. I think the number 5M is the size of this one. I think there's one size smaller, and then there's bigger ones. But I like this size because it kind of fits the bill for pretty much everything, you know, in between everything. So it's not too big, it's not too small. But yeah, flicker shad, it's just really hard to beat this lure. It's been one of my favorite this year because I've been back in the rivers, and in the fall, it's hard to beat it. So those guys right there, those walleye, they'll munch this thing. Okay, so I said those were number 2 and number 3, but honestly, what you should be doing, well, no, we'll leave it at that, because I like this for number 4 and anything like this for number 4, because if you show up somewhere and you're kind of getting bites on this or this, and you've already found the fish with this, so live bait on this will find you anything. Obviously, you'll catch bluegills, you'll catch crappie, you'll catch perch, you'll catch all sorts of fish on it. But it'll kind of let you know if there's any life around. If you're trying to find the bigger ones, so bigger smallmouth, bigger walleye, stuff like that, get yourself one of these. These are a number, let me see, because I have a whole pack of them here. These are the Swing Impact number 4 from Keitech. I will list them below. They work incredibly well. There is one big downside, so the reason I'm holding this one is I caught a couple fish on it and it ripped it in half. So I actually think I got a lot of fish on this one. I think it was like 6. But yeah, once it rips it in half, you have to cut it off and then you have a shorter bait. But depending on the fish in the area, a number 4 is probably just about the right size. I have bigger ones and I have smaller ones, but this seems like that, like right in between. So like in comparison to a flicker shad, it's probably an inch and a half longer. So that gives you a kind of a size comparison. But yeah, a plastic of some kind. So, and it's all going to depend on your river system, like what you're fishing. For instance, what I was just fishing, there's a lot of big bait fish around. So I throw the bigger stuff. I have like these are like a 4.5 inch fluke. So those work too. And all of those go right on this jig. So say you have a jig on, you find fish, and you don't own any of these, and you don't own any of these. If you have a package like this, like I do, where you have some flukes and some Keitechs in it, and you got your jig on already, pull your live bait off after you find the fish, throw those on, start catching bigger fish. So this is, like I said, this is the number 1. Everybody should have jigs for the fall. And yeah, the number 4 is some kind of plastic. It doesn't even have to be this one. Whatever you guys choose. I just like these because they have literally the most action to them. So you can work them very, very slowly if you need to. So if there's not crazy active fish around, but there are big fish around, that'll do the work for you. So trust me when I say those work. Not affiliated. Keitech, if you want to send me some stuff, cool. Big thing is I don't lie about baits. So like I said before, if you guys could figure out how to keep it this lively, but make it a little bit more durable, I would be very happy. But I still use them. So we'll keep it at that. Last but not least, I've done a whole series on this lure. And yeah, you guys, if you don't know already, like if you're new to the channel, I use these pretty religiously. Okay, so right here, this one's a Shadow Rap 11. So this one's a slow sinking one. I have a whole video based around jerk baits. Get yourself at least 3 different sizes. So like this could be considered like a mid-range thing. Like that's a Husky jerk up there, but that's a 14. So like that's like this long in comparison. So like I said, this could be considered mid-range. So you could run the 14, this, which is the 11, and then there's little tiny jerk baits that I have a whole box of. But to keep it simple, get yourself a variety of jerk baits, sinking, floating, and suspending. So there's the 3 different kinds. So if you're new to jerkbait fishing, there's 3 different kinds. This one will slowly sink down in the water column, and you got to bring it up, and it'll slowly sink. Sometimes that triggers the fish. Sometimes they need to stare at it in the fall when the water gets cold, like for a while. So you want the suspending ones. So the suspending ones, you'll jerk it, it'll make a bunch of movements, but then it'll just sit still. So sometimes the fish will literally just sit there and stare at it. I've sight fished them and watched them do this. Smallmouth walleye, I've seen crappie do it. They'll sit there and look at it, and then they'll hit it. So suspending one, and then the floating one. So the floating one, I would highly suggest using a floating one if you're fishing really shallow water. So like, that's an 8-pound walleye. That fish will sit in a foot and a half water behind some riffles or rapids or something like that. There's a whole way of fishing them, but you can catch that fish in, you know, that much water. So if you are planning on buying some jerk baits, do yourself a favor: floating, sinking, suspending. Get those 3, and yeah, you've covered the jerk bait gamut. But if you get these 5 lures, I promise you'll catch fish this fall and any fall that you see this video. If you're seeing this video on a different fall, so like this is 2021, if you're seeing this on a different fall, comment below what year you're seeing this and if it helped you out. I'm trying to do my best here to get you guys to catch some fish, so stay tuned for future videos. Okay guys, I think that covers basically everything. And like I said, these are those giant jerk baits. Spinner, jig. So spinner on that guy, there's a jig hanging off of that one. It's literally one of those things where you should be throwing these lures on a regular basis if you want to catch fish. Obviously experiment with new things. That's fishing. Try all the things you can. But I promise you, if you use one of these 5 lures in the fall, you'll catch fish. So hopefully that helps some of you guys get some more fish this year and years to come. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Obviously, if you're not new here, you know what's up. But if you are new, could you please just remember to